intros. My name is Emily Jarna. I'm a preservation planner with Preservation Buffalo Niagara, and I'd like to thank you all for attending this homeowner historic tax credit workshop with us this evening. This webinar is in partnership with Preservation Buffalo Niagara, Preservation Studios, and the New York State Historic Preservation Office, and the City of Niagara Falls. So this is a big collaboration meeting, and I'd really like to thank you all for attending. All right, and we got some more answers pouring in. And while this poll is up and you guys are all answering, I'd like to introduce our panelists for today. To start, we have Zach Salmon, who is a historic preservation technical specialist with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. Thank you so much for coming today, Zach. Always love having you
Absolutely.
here.
Thank you for having me.
We also have Tom Yacht, who is the founder of Preservation Studios and the director of municipal services. Thank you for coming, Tom.
A pleasure to be here.
And last but certainly not least, we have Miss Haley Wright, who is a preservation planner with Preservation Studios and is also on the board for the Amherst Historic Preservation Commission. So from what I see here, you guys got a panelist of specialists who have a little bit of knowledge, a lot of bit of knowledge in so many technical categories of preservation and fixing up your home. Whether you're going in front of the HPC, you have questions about your historic tax credit workshop or forms, or if you just need to know preservation knowledge in general. So thank you all so much for coming. I'm going to end this poll and we can get started. Just a few quick announcements. We really appreciate you for coming. And if you know anybody who is a contractor or technical specialist who works on buildings, any kind of trade, who is looking to sponsor something in the upcoming 2026 year, I have the opportunity for them. We are looking for sponsors for these historic tax credit workshops to keep them free and available to all. So if you know anybody who's interested in sponsoring anything, please send them my way. Visit preservationbuffaloniagara.com or email us, which I'll get you the email. I'll type it into the chat. We're always looking for people to sponsor. So thank you so much, everybody, and I will kick this over to Tom.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of Preservation Studios. And I understand that we have some people from Niagara Falls who are joining us tonight in addition to the usual group that we get from Buffalo and some of the other areas. For the people from Niagara Falls, I just want to tell you Preservation Studios started in Niagara Falls in a studio on the second floor of the NAC, which is where the word studio came in Preservation Studios. And we started 21 years ago when, actually, wait a minute, wow, 23 years ago now, when I got a master's degree in architecture at the SUNY Buffalo School of Architecture and Planning. I thought it was going to be a one-person show. It turned out that when the historic tax credits really expanded in the state of New York to include a state credit along with the federal credit, my business just went crazy. And now there are 9 of us, and we work across New York State. We work on Long Island and Manhattan. We work in neighboring states. We have a satellite office set up in Portland, Oregon, and one in North Carolina. And in the wintertime, my wife and I spend that time in California, and we have a little office doing some work there too. So we've really expanded ourselves. And I'm also very proud to announce that we have an intern with us from SUNY Buffalo this year who just happens to be one of my grandsons who is studying at UB, came here from the Hudson Valley to attend UB. So I really want to welcome all of you here. We are a full service historic preservation consulting firm. We have done just a broad range of projects. We worked on the preservation pieces of the Albright Knox expansion, which was a very exciting project. But we also have done several in Niagara Falls. For those of you who are joining us from there, you probably know these buildings. Carolyn's house was one of our projects. We put the Main Street Historic District onto the National Register, worked on the project on the Congregationalist Church on Cleveland Avenue, put the Unitarian Church on the National Register. And for those of you in the Park Place Historic District, we did that as a local historic district first, and then as a National Register historic district. So we've done quite a bit of work in the city of Niagara Falls. And speaking of local districts, I just want to take a minute to talk to you a little bit about local designation. If you are in the Park Place Historic District or certain districts in the city of
We
Buffalo,
were going to go over that in 1 second. Sorry, I just want to go over the agenda and then I have some slides for the local landmarking.
we'll let you do that then.
All right.
Yeah,
Before we get ahead of ourselves here.
oh,
Um,
welcome
so
on behalf of Haley.
Thank you. So Tom went over a little bit of the introduction, and then he'll be going over the local landmarking sort of process and the importance behind that. Then we'll be going over the historic tax credit program, eligibility, the qualifications, what QREs are. We have some examples along with the application process too. So I'll pass it back over to Tom. We do have some slides about local landmarking. Tom, you're muted.
Now that's better. I just wanted to share with you some of the advantages of local designation because I know the Park Place District has that designation. And as I said, several in Buffalo have it as well, Allentown, Hamlin Park. Uh, Local designation, one of the things that you can get with local designation is exemption on the taxes that would be increased because of the work that you've done. If you have a historic property, you can get that percentage that you see up on the screen there. Now, the city of Niagara Falls has not joined that program yet. It's called 444A in the New York State tax law. I would encourage any of you who are from Niagara Falls and live in a local historic district to get the city to do that. I mean, other cities, City of Buffalo is doing that. Some of the suburban communities are. It's one of the advantages to local designation. But there's another major advantage. And Haley, I think maybe the next slide might tell us a little bit more about that. What local landmarking can do that National Register and State Register landmarking cannot do is protect buildings. It requires that anything that would be done to a historically designated building that is locally designated must go before the Historic Preservation Commission. What you see in the photo on the left in this is the shredded wheat factory that used to be on Buffalo Avenue in Niagara Falls. Some of you might remember that building that you see right in the middle of that slide, and that was the administration building that remained after the factory itself had been torn down. And that became the first site of Niagara County Community College. When a community college moved out to the suburbs, that building was left. It was in very good condition. It was on the National Register of Historic Places, and it was demolished to create a shovel-ready site. And this was in the very early 1980s, over 40 years ago. And what you see on the right is a photo I took just a few weeks ago. So 40 years have passed and we still don't have anything built on that site when we would have had a building that could have been used for a new hotel, many other uses that it could have been done. Another one to give you an example, the Hamlin Park Historic District in Buffalo was created because of this building. Canisius College is in the Hamlin Park neighborhood. And when Canisius was expanding, they needed more room for parking lots. And the people in Hamlin Park said they really didn't want to live next door or across the street from a parking lot. And so this building was scheduled to be demolished, and they created the local historic district so that it protected their properties that were there and so that they would no longer have to fight to keep their neighborhood from having its residential feel. As a result, this building is now a functioning building as part of the Canisius program. So it isn't like the building wasn't needed. It was, and the last thing that Canisius needs right now with their declining enrollment is another parking lot. So again, if you are not in a local historic district and you'd like some of these benefits to see your neighboring properties protected, then I urge you to speak to your preservation commission, talk to your city council, talk to the SHPO, and talk to the Preservation League of New York State. All of them will help you become a local district. So thank you for my little moment to say that.
Thank you so much, Tom. So just to go over the historic tax credit program, this is the homeownership rehabilitation credit, which offers a state income tax credit equal to 20% of those QREs or qualified rehabilitation expenses. Those include repairs, maintenance, and your upgrades to the historic homes. A question we receive quite often is my home eligible? There are many, many historic districts throughout the Buffalo and Niagara region. So I've included just some of the many historic districts. So you have like the Parkside East, Linwood, Hamlin Park, Allentown, Main Street Historic District, Park Place. And some of these are both local and National Register historic districts also. If you don't know, I mean, there are maps out there. You are more than welcome to reach out to myself, Tom, or PBN as well, and we'll be able to let you know if your home qualifies. All right, so some of the qualifications. Number one, this one is really important. All projects must be approved before that work begins. Obviously, there's some cases, we live with a lot of snow. If a tree falls on your roof and you need to get, your roof redone, obviously you don't have to wait. But Zach here with Shippo is very quick to get back, and he'll work with you on, when you submit your project. The applicant must own and live within the home. That house must be listed on the state or National Register Historic District, or be contributing as part of that historic district. Along with the expenses being a minimum of $5,000 and a minimum of 5% being done on the exterior of the home itself. So that includes, paint, windows, and if you have questions about that, we will definitely help you out with that as well. All right, so what are QREs? Those are the qualified rehabilitation expenditures. So these are those incentives. So the roofing, HVAC, flooring, gutters, there's so many other things that would qualify for those expenditures as well. And I'm sorry, I have a kitten and she has the zoomies right now, so she is running all around me if you hear her in the background. I'll pass it back over to Tom.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk to you about one piece of this is that some people live in a home that is their residence, but also it has a rental part to it. It could be something that is two flats with an apartment upstairs, an apartment downstairs, and the owner lives in one and rents out the other. Or it could be something like a bed and breakfast. Or even a home office that you might have if you're a professional person who has their office at home. I want to give you an example here. Some of you who live in Niagara Falls probably would recognize this. This is the Marshall House bed and breakfast. It's on Park Place, but it used to be Park Place Bed and Breakfast. And in the spirit of full disclosure, my wife and I bought this house in 1991. We restored it and turned it into a bed and breakfast. And we ran that bed and breakfast for 17 years. And the current owners have done a wonderful job keeping up the original historic character of the home. We did this before there was a homeowner credit, so we weren't able to take advantage of something like that. But if someone were to do it now, all that it would mean is they would use a percentage of the property when they are applying for their tax credit. So say, for example, that you lived in 50% of the house and you rented out the other 50%. I only use that figure because it's so much easier to understand when you do it that way. All that means is that half of the tax credit then goes to you. So if you look at what you have $20,000 in a project for $20,000. I say it's your roof. That's a shared space. So then half of that, $10,000, is available for the credit. The 20% of that, you would get a $2,000 credit. Now, there also is a possibility that you might want to just work on the part where you live. My wife and I lived on the third floor of this house in what were formerly servants' quarters. So when people pushed those buttons on the first floor, they would ring up in where we were. And if we had done work there, all of the 20% could have been used. So that's how it works when you have a shared use of a commercial use as well as as your private residence. And again, you can talk to any of us about that. You can call PBN, you can call us at Preservation Studios. Zach will give you that information as well as to how you split that up. But the person who's going to help you the most with that is your tax accountant, because whatever the percentage is that you use on your tax forms as to what percent of that property is your residence, that's the percent that you're going to use in your homeowner credit. I want to give you a couple of other examples here. A far more common example of a commercial and residential is two flats, the famous Buffalo flats. They're all over the city. There are some Buffalo flats that are bigger than private homes, 4 and 5 bedroom flats. They're amazing. Niagara Falls has them too. There's several of them in the Park Place Historic District, and I know they're on Orchard Parkway because I used to live there. In the Orchard Parkway District, there are several that were originally built with those two flats.
I live in the Hudson Valley equivalent of that as well. So right
They're
behind me here.
they're wonderful because you get the feel of living in a house, but you're really in an apartment, which is really kind of cool. So this example we're giving you here is Buffalo's famous Dollar House. It was a purchase for $1 off the demolition list by a young man who at the time was in his early 20s. And he agreed to live in the house and to restore the house. He happened to be one of our associates here at Preservation Studios, later became a partner in the firm. So he was doing this through historic preservation. And he did this and was able to do $120,000 worth of rehabilitation to this house. And he was able to get tax credits on a good portion of it. Haley, have we got another slide that might show some of the expenses? Well, that's his interior before and after. So you can see here that how it works is that whatever the work is that is in a shared space, so the attorney fee is a shared experience. The porch and roof railing was a shared experience. The porch jambs that were created were only done in the part of the house that was a rental. So he could only claim the portion of that under the commercial credit and not under the homeowner credit. And the rest of that shows you how that was shared. Now, the commercial credit is another program altogether, and we're not going to be discussing that tonight. But if you own a place that has a shared homeowner and commercial credit, you can apply for both of those credits. Believe me, the homeowner credit is much, much easier process than the commercial credit. You really need help with the commercial credit. The homeowner credit is designed for you to do it yourself. And I can tell you, I've done a few of these. They are so easy to do. It really is. And Zach is amazing with returning calls and helping out with information as it goes. So one more example we have here. Next slide. This is a single family home that's in the Elmwood Historic District. The owner of this house, before the historic tax credit was available, she had the windows rehabilitated, beautiful original windows that she had done. But she wanted to do storm windows. If you take a look at those windows, there's no two windows alike there. So she had quite a hefty expense, over $50,000 just to do the storm windows on this house. And she did the historic preservation tax credit to do it. She contacted me because she's a friend of mine, and she said, "Can you tell me what the style of my house is?" That's the only question she had. All of the rest of that application she did by herself. She submitted it, she got her tax credit, and she's going to do another one now. So these really are a major significant help to you. And things like storm windows are all QREs. So she got 20% of that $56,000. That's a substantial amount of money. And you can do that too.
Thank you, Tom, for going over those examples. So as we kind of talked about the application process, there is a part 1 and 2 along with a part 3. So I have an example on the screen of what this will look like when you find this on their website. The part 1 and 2 are submitted together prior to that work commencing. And then the part 3 is after all the work is done, and then you submit that to Zach. This is what the online submission will look like. It really is, your contact information, your address, all that good stuff. And then on the right side of the screen here is what you'll submit. So your proposed work, photos documenting that work being done, and then it will also look like that afterwards as well. We did go, this is just kind of like a recap of everything that we went over. So those minimum requirements of the $5,000 or 5% being done on exterior work, applications, requirements on those. So there are some fees associated with this as well. So I have these up on the screen just so you can kind of recap. And I have all of our contact information here as well. So if you have those questions, we are here to help you to make this as seamless as possible. And Zachary is the person that you'll be submitting this paperwork to, and he's the best. So
Thank you so much, Haley, Tom, and Zach, of course, for going through that presentation with us. And I know we did ask that poll if anybody is a member of PBN, and I saw some of you were, some of you weren't. I really hope that if you were to give one membership this year, it would be to PBN. I'm biased, but we are doing a heck of a good job, and I'm really excited to wrap up 2026. If you were a member, you would get this amazing newsletter that's about to go out in a week. But really, every dollar helps, and it allows us to keep doing our job and fighting for the buildings that matter. So please consider donating, becoming a member, or even volunteering. We're always doing really great local landmark applications and can use all the help we can get with researching and looking through the archives, which, if you like to go down a rabbit hole, is so much fun. Again, I'm biased.
I just wanted to add one more thing. You know, I was talking to Tom about this today. We've been offering these webinars or workshops for 2 years now. So it's kind of incredible how much we've grown. Just an idea that we had, you know, a few years back, and now we're working directly with Shippo and Zach here. And of course, Emily, you know, this has been really great, and we love to help you guys. I think Erie County is one of the top submissions for
Yeah.
the homeowner tax credit in New York State. So that's pretty awesome. But we just want to thank you for joining us, and invite your friends next time. You know, if they have questions, let us know.
Always here to help. Amy, if you want to ask those questions, you can unmute yourself. You can ask them in the chat. I think you can unmute yourself. You're more than welcome to. And if you would like to email them, keep them private, please do that by all means as well. But that's up to you.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind sharing them publicly, yeah, like
Okay.
other people might have the same questions.
Sure.
Okay. Well,
Great idea.
I'll just mention one in particular. We recently, with the help of Zach, helped our Forestville get a historic district. Right, you were on a call, weren't you, with us just recently? I think that was you with Daniel Botts from. I'm sorry, Daniel Boggs. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
And
I believe so.
maybe it wasn't you. It looks like you. But anyways, and I don't have
Okay,
the name in front of
yeah,
me. But anyways,
Everything's a
my
blur
question.
right now because of the it's the
I
season.
bet. I bet. Well, we just recently, as of December 3rd, got approved, and we're very excited for our little Pearl Street, Center Street district in Forestville. My son owns a house that is now in there, and it has been, and he actually submitted it. Some work to be done. However, because it wasn't an approved, it wasn't approved yet. The district, he wasn't able to process it. Now he bought the house through Land Bank, who has certain guidelines as far as when work has to be completed. So he was wondering, can he file all at once with? He still has porch work to be done and things like that, but can he file for work that was completed prior to the approval, although it was in the process? So is that possible? And if yes, how would it go about doing that? And you can email me, I'll email you guys, but that's my one question. And the other is regarding a church. St. Rose of Lima has been slated to close. However, we have an appeal, and we're hoping that it will go through, that our church will remain there, but it too is in the district. And is there any way that we could, is there a special protection that we could give it in case the appeal does not go through? We hate to see it torn down or whatever. It's a little church.
I would be happy to answer that. St. Rose of Lima, is it the one in Buffalo?
No, this is in Forestville. It's
Okay.
a little church. Yeah.
All right. If you have a historic preservation commission, then you can have your commission give it a local landmark designation.
We're going to
And
be looking into that. We don't have one.
Not yet.
That's next on our list.
well, take a look at your, you know what, put in the name of your community, historic preservation, and see if you have an E code. You may have an E code in your historic, or in your municipality that does allow for designation. So if you have one that allows for designation, then that would be a way to do it. But local designation is the only thing that will protect a building because it requires it to go before a commission. So
Board.
if you don't have a
Okay.
commission, you probably don't
Yeah.
have anything in your E code, but you can check with that.
Yeah, and that, you're saying through the town then I would check, or the municipality?
Municipality,
Yeah.
Franklinville is or Forestville rather, is a village.
It is now a hamlet, and
Okay,
we
then
are under,
then the town or the county, and check with them, and then, you know, talk to the SHPO, talk to the Preservation League about becoming a certified local government and having a preservation commission. It's all benefits. There's no negative to any of that.
And
This is the
okay.
kind of reason why, you know, that sometimes towns will go ahead and institute those kinds of protections. So, yeah, this could be the starting point for that.
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they don't, because in the whole process, I don't ever remember. I know we talked about it. I know it's a process, but we might be coming to that point now. So
Well,
we'll
I
look
can
into
give
it.
you a little piece of advice because I've done this before. If you have a groundswell of support for this, get those people together, go to wherever your town council meeting is and speak about it. And then when you're done speaking and advocating for this, ask how many of them are voters. And if they all raise their hand, there's a good chance you're going to get some support from your council because they want people to vote for them. And I think it's important that you get as much support as possible. We just did something in the town of Hamburg, and they had 440 people signing a petition, and they packed a room to support a building that they did not want to have, not only not demolished, they didn't even want to have it altered. And they got that support. So pack the room with as many supporters as you can.
Okay. And then is that door to door? Is that how you do it? I mean, we have a small community. It's very possible, but is it just in the district? Is it the whole community that I would be?
You can do it door to door. To get your community interested. You can, if you have a historical society, generally they're a very good group to call a meeting and bring people in. But, you know, give me a call or talk to Zach or Emily about certified local government. And it's a process that you wouldn't regret. Your community would not regret being a part of. But you need
Also,
to.
my colleague Francis Stern, who is the previous Buffalo homeowner reviewer, is now the CLG Certified Local Government Coordinator for the whole state. So you could reach out to Francis about that.
Oh, great. I talked to him many moons ago. Thank you very much. Okay,
Uh-huh.
I will. CGL. Okay,
Yeah.
sweet. All
CLG.
right.
Yeah.
CLG. I had to switch it around.
Yeah.
I knew that.
And to answer the other question about the credit coming in
Yeah.
after some work is done. So the part 1 and 2 form does have a place to explain whether any work has been done already and
Oh,
why.
good.
And so just explain the situation there.
Okay.
As long as it's, you know, not like 2 or 3, you know, as long as it's like kind of within the same tax year or something like that. We
Okay.
do have some leniency. Of course, it's always going to be at your peril about whether it meets preservation standards if it didn't go
Mm-hmm.
through our review. But yeah, just
Okay.
submit it like you would normally and explain
Great.
why.
Okay. Will do. Awesome. Thank
And
you so much.
Amy, I'll send you that info for Fran and for everybody else. So I have your email because you signed up for this. So you'll get an
Okay.
email a little separate for St. Rosalima.
Okay. Oh, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate all your help.
Absolutely.
Hey, Zach and Tom and Haley and team. And the examples showed where it was, you know, like it looked like there was a pile of garbage in the one picture, and then there's a nice, you know, family room after. The before picture on the application, I would imagine that was submitted, but like, is one picture enough, or do you want like 2 or 3 of a certain area if I'm converting a bathroom and renovating a bathroom? Like, I guess it's like, how many pictures do you need?
Yeah,
Or
Zach would
want?
be able to answer that question a little bit better.
Yeah.
I mean, bathroom probably one, right? I mean,
Yeah, it kind of depends on what's being done and the sensitivity to the historic character of the house. So something like a bathroom, we don't really do much review of what's going on in bathrooms because
Okay.
those are assumed to not be very original to the house. Same with kitchens.
Yeah,
You can kind of do whatever you want with kitchens and bathrooms. So just one
that's
picture is
helpful.
fine. If you're
Okay.
going to be doing like exterior trim repairs, where that's something really sensitive that we want to know that it's going to look, the way that it should when it's finished,
Yep.
we might want some more detailed shots of that. So yeah,
Okay.
it kind
That
of depends, but if we can
no, that's
see
super
what's
helpful.
going on, that's enough. And we want to be able to compare the before and after, just like you saw there, just like a side by side.
Okay. Yeah, no, okay. So I'm scope of work I'm doing is rather large and it's rather complex. I'm converting a 3-unit house back to its original state of a single family home. So like
Oh,
where they chopped it up and had like a bathroom in the hallway, that's not going to be there in the end state, right? So there'd be like just a hallway. And then where there was a kitchen on the second floor, that's going to be a bathroom. So I guess
Yeah.
like mine would be very drastic, and it would be kind of hard in the before and after to even compare them if the complete layout is entirely different.
Yeah, you don't have to like get really detailed with that because it's going to change so much. If you have
Yep.
architectural plans, construction drawings,
Yep.
we'd be glad to see those. We don't require those, but if you have them, then that would be great for us to see.
Okay. All right. Helpful.
yeah, your project is
Awesome.
going to be a little bit different, I think. So, definitely work with Zach on that, kind of like hand in hand, because I feel like that's a big task. So,
Yes. Very big and very expensive. So
yeah.
any tax credit I can get would be extremely helpful.
Yeah, and another good thing too, just so you know, these can be phased out, so you don't have to like finish your whole entire house within 1 year. Say you want to tackle like the living room and bathroom 1 year, so f phase one, and then you can get all those tax credits for that, and then the tax credits for the next year reset. So, don't think that you have to do all. I know you probably want to start getting everything done, but it might help you to phase out the project if that makes sense.
And if you talk to
Okay.
Zach, Zach can help you understand what is the best way for you to do, because there's only so many QREs of value that you can put into a single application. So you don't want to use up a lot of your work and then not be able to get it because your application is already maxed out at the $125,000. But you can work that out so that you're doing them over a period of years. Contractors, you're never going to get it all done in 1 year anyway. So
Yeah.
I'll say 2 weeks, but we know better. But so I would encourage you to discuss it with Zach so that you can work your phasing in and get the maximum amount that you can get out of your project.
Yeah, yeah, we'll say the maximum per year, which is also per tax filing, of course. It's not really about how much, like how many work items, how many things you're doing, but the number amount is a maximum expenditure of 125,000. So if you're going to claim more than 125,000 per year, then you're not going to get the full 20% back. And of course, that 20% is 25,000 back on your income taxes. But you can repeat that year after year. Also, that maximum is per person who's paying taxes. So if you have a spouse who's also filing, then it can be up to 250,000 of expenditures between the two of you. But yeah, I've seen projects that are way more than that. So if that's the case, and it's going to be multiple years, then you can phase it out like that, and you can that maximum resets each year. You just have to go through the whole part one and two, and then part three process each time.
Okay. All right. That's super helpful. Zach, I got your email on the screen here. I wrote it down. So I'll I'll be reaching out to you.
Great.
Thank you.
These are great questions, guys. We do have a couple in the chat. Joshua asked, would electrical updates contribute to the $5,000 minimum, like new outlets updating, K&T, etc., assuming
Uh,
this work was paired with exterior work like storm windows?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great project, Josh. That's that's perfect, actually. We also have another question from Brian. He asks, I have a triplex, like in 50% of the building. So if renovations of work in my own flat, can I get the full 20% on those amounts?
Yeah, so to elaborate a little bit more on the partial homeowner occupied partial commercial use, anything that's going on inside your own residence that is interior work, you can claim the full 20% on. Anything that is shared, of course, you have to prorate it according to the percentage that you claim that you live in. And anything that's entirely inside the commercial unit, you can't claim at all. Now, the one sticking point where often people file it incorrectly and I have to send it back for revisions is that people will claim something like that is exterior, like windows or an exterior porch, and they'll say, well, this only serves my unit. And we can't do it like that. If it is something on the exterior in any way, like windows, an exterior door, porch, it has to be prorated no matter what. But yeah, things that are entirely interior that are in your own unit, you can claim at 100%.
And he did have a follow-up on that question. If he changes apartments in the following years, can he reapply?
That's an interesting question. You would have to ask your accountant about that, I believe, because that's more of a tax law question than an architecture question. There's only so much I can elaborate on when it comes to individual tax situations because I'm not an accountant.
That's always a fair answer. Make sure you
Yeah.
check with your accountants, your tax specialist, because
I,
we're good at the historic tax credit part, but not your accounting.
yeah, I mean, you would be able to apply again. But you do have to live in a residence for at least 2 years after you get the credit. Or you get a clawback from the tax office. So, yeah, I'm not sure how that would work, but I hopefully an accountant would be able to answer your question.
All right, we had a question from Colin asking, does the 5% exterior requirement have to be for every project that you're seeking credit for, or is it like an overall annual requirement? They do have an example. If I have work done early in the year that includes a sizable exterior component and I get credit for that, but then I need unexpected interior work done later in the year, would I have to have an additional exterior work done along with that project to get credit for that?
Yeah, but you could also keep it open and then say like later in the year if you needed like your front door painted or something small done, you can always keep that open before the year closes out so that you can claim that credit. Does that?
Yeah, we have amendment forms,
Mhm.
and the way that works is that once you get your initial approval back from your Part 1 and 2 application, it'll come with a project number, and that project number is how you submit additional forms until you close it out. So the Part 3, you use that project number. You can also use that to submit an amendment to the project. And so the amendment, you just add more work items. So if you've kept the project open after completing that earlier work, you can submit an amendment for that interior work that you want to do. And yeah, it would still be that 5% requirement would be for the overall project, including all of those individual work items together.
And that brings up a good point too, because I actually had to email Zach the other day asking when is too late to submit my part three for approval for the end of this tax year. And so, if you are pretty finished with your project by June, maybe keep it open, until September, October, maybe some, if you have more things to add to that project, then you just add them. But please try to get those closed out. What did you say, Zach? Like no later than like December 1st?
Our date now is December 1st because we do get a rush coming in during December. Like my queue has been up to like 40 things to review. For
Oh,
it's down now, but it's gonna go back up again once we get some more fees processed and everything. And it's gonna be like that through New Year's. So the like technical cutoff, like the hard deadline to be able to file this with your 2025 taxes this year, for example, is December 1st. Basically, in order to claim the credit in a certain tax year, the Part 3 has to be submitted with a submission date of that year. So if you submit Part 3 with a 2025 submission date, then you can claim it in 2025, basically.
Just to clarify,
And, oh, yeah,
Zach, are you saying that if someone gets their uh, part three in by the end of the year, then so even though we definitely want people to turn them in at the beginning of December, but if it doesn't happen until like say the 28th or 29th, it would still count in this year, even though you haven't had a chance to review it. Is that correct?
That's correct. If it comes into us and it has a 2025 date, and it's like, January 5th, 2026, as long as it has that date in 2025, we can issue a certification for 2025.
Excellent.
Now that is cutting it really close because you don't know if there's going to be technical issues, for example, unforeseen circumstances like that. So we really do not want people doing that. That's why our date now is December 1st. But yes, technically it has to just have the date of the tax year you want to file it for.
and they're very fast. If you're not bum rushing them on like December 29th, I just want to let everybody know, like, Zach is wonderful. He is efficiently quick. It is a State Department, but you never once feel like you're dealing with a State Department in this process. They're accessible, the communication's great, and the turnaround is spectacular. So thank you for that, Zach. It's a huge stress relief to most people filing for these historic tax credits.
Absolutely.
We do have a question from Veronica. Can I use different contractors and companies for different projects and include them in the same applications, like different contractors for porch repair versus basement, footing repairs, etc.?
Yeah, so we don't care at all who your contractors are. We only care what work you're doing and the amount that's spent on it. We actually, if you do any do-it-yourself work, we cannot certify the like value of your do-it-yourself work, but we can certify the materials. So if you just go out and buy a can of paint to paint the house, then we can certify the credit for that can of paint, for example.
So sweat equity doesn't count, everybody. Just keep that in mind. And please make sure your contractors are licensed and insured within the city, especially Niagara Falls. We're doing a lot of vacant apartment repairs in the falls, and there's a whole different criteria. So if you're in the falls and you're wondering if your contractor is licensed and insured within the city of Niagara Falls, you can email the Housing and Code Enforcement Permits Department for the city, and they will happily answer you also timely. Um, but yeah, so make sure you have, and if you need any suggestions of who, you need a mason, you need an electric guy, please let us know. We'd be happy to give you a contractor list. Brian did ask, is do it yourself is fine though, right? What if the hired work is not licensed? Yeah, you can do it yourself work. You're just not getting credit, like you're not getting reimbursement for your time doing the project. If the hired work is not licensed, nobody will be checking, but the quality of the work could suffer. So, especially like plumbing, electrical, you don't want to mess around with that unless you know what you're doing. You don't want to hire a random uncle. Make sure you have someone who knows what they're doing working on your historic house. Anybody want to add anything to that?
I don't think so. It's just not really any of our business, like who is doing the work. But yeah, as was mentioned, if some carpentry comes in and we see in the part three that it's not quite right, we will notice that. That's the part that would stand out to us.
That's fair. All right. Does anybody have any more questions before we wrap up tonight's webinar? We still have a little bit of time if you do. If you want to unmute yourself or type in the chat. Those were some really great questions. And again, Zach, Tom, Haley, thank you so much for coming to this webinar this evening and partnering with PBN and doing this for the city of Buffalo. For all of you in here on your Wednesday evening, learning about how to make a little bit of money back on your home repairs, super important. I'm glad you came. I will be sending up I will send a follow-up email that will have links to the SHPO applications. It'll reinstate all these emails so that way you know who to contact. And Amy, I have your email for the CLG stuff. So If you have any questions, please reach out. We're always happy to hear from you, and we're most importantly always happy to help. So thank you everybody for attending. And we hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and let's do some work in 2026.